Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the C-Man, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the C-Man's Cinema Sitdown. As you guys have probably noted by now, if you've been following along, the couch is just where we do all our things. So no, we're not getting ready to react to anything, but we are getting ready to talk about a movie, which is something we did the other day. I just went and saw Sisu, which was super badass, a lot of fun, really good time. Check it out. If you want all my thoughts, you can see them right up there. But now we turn to a movie that I saw about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks ago. And I did a quick little short video about my initial thoughts coming right out of it. And it's a movie that I liked. And I said then, I was like, if I sit on this and think about it a little bit, I think I'm going to like this movie even more. And that's what I've done. I've been sitting, I've been thinking on it. I've been thinking on it a lot. Like, this is one of the things that I love about this movie is this is a movie that rewards you for thinking about it. The places that Ari Aster goes in this film are out there. This is easily, lots of people have said this and I completely agree. It's the biggest swing of his career. But he goes to some fascinating places and places that make you think. And I like when a director and a writer can take you there. And Aster is in a unique group of up-and-coming, big-time directors right now. For me, there's three of them. Jordan Peele, Robert Eggers, and Ari Aster. All super unique in their voice. All super unique in how they tell, both on the page and visually, through what you do behind the camera, a story. And three guys that specifically in the horror realm, I think really, really flourish. But oddly enough, both Eggers and Aster on their third outings opted to go outside of horror and use things from that realm to enhance aspects of the movies that they took on. I loved The Northman, and now that I've sat with this one for a while, I can say I absolutely love this movie. What am I talking about? Why don't you pull up a chair? Take a seat. We are getting ready to dive in, spoiler-free, as best I can, into Beau Is Afraid. And one of the things that really had me intrigued right from jump was Ari Aster and Joaquin Phoenix. Like, that felt like a match made in heaven. And it must have felt like that to Joaquin Phoenix, because Aster tells a funny story that when he was Zooming with Joaquin during the pandemic, trying to get him to sign on to this movie, the first 5-6 times they would talk, Joaquin would always get to this place where he'd be like, why the am I gonna make this movie? Like, why would I do this? Because this is out there. And that's the thing, it's not a horror movie. This is a fantasy epic, so to speak, about this man, Beau, who is genuinely afraid of everything. And he is trying to get from where he lives to his mother's because a tragic accident happens and he needs to get there. And it's only about, I think, 3 to 5 hours away, but it is not an easy road to get there for Beau because of lots of things that are going on in his life. And like I said, this is a huge swing from Ari Aster. He takes some big-time shots, and they don't always connect. However, and it's one of these things where, even looking at the Rotten Tomato and other scores, I'm kind of happy about what critics and audiences are saying because it's been mostly positive. And this is a movie that I could have easily seen people just hating and getting behind hating even if they hadn't seen it. And fortunately, I haven't seen that, and I appreciate that because in this world where people are constantly complaining about IP-driven movies, and sequels, and reboots, and universe-connected movies, and franchise movies. This is original content, and it's not going to work for everybody, but I think you have to applaud specifically these auteur directors who have such unique voices. You have to applaud and encourage when they take these big swings, and you can say that it doesn't work, but at least appreciate that they tried. And that a studio like A24 would let somebody be this unhinged. This is Ari Aster, just full Ari Aster if you remove the horror. And like I said, this is a fantasy epic that has horror elements in it that definitely add to the movie and really enhance what you're getting from a storytelling standpoint. And a lot of that comes toward the back third of the movie, although it is sprinkled throughout and obviously is attached to the family tragedy in this one. And that's the spot like when you get into that and when you're getting into the real fantastical elements of this movie, where I think people could be out, right? And that's the thing that I kind of dig about this one with Aster, is that it's kind of a slow build to the absolute craziest of the crazy things that he's doing in the movie, where like when you get to like the back end, I think you can shake off how absurd what we see and what we get, because the rest of the film really feels grounded, and it's really about going on this fantastical adventure with Beau. And the thing that I love from a storytelling standpoint is the stuff that Aster is talking about through the story of the movie, right? I mean, mental health, specifically people who, do have legitimate fears that impact them in ways. Like, very early on in the movie, I was kind of like, I think this is an area that Aster wants to talk about, but he's just kind of giving us a story where we can kind of live through that type of mental illness through this character in Beau, who is legitimately afraid of everything, where just walking from his apartment across the street to the bodega on the corner to get a bottle of water can be one of the most terrifying experiences that a human has. And that's the thing that I think is really cool with the movie, is when you're diving into that stuff or some of these family things that are going on. There's a lot of really interesting layered familial issues, and specifically for people who got mommy issues. I am a mommy's boy. I had a stay-at-home mom growing up, and me and my mom are super tight. I don't have mommy issues, but I know people who have mommy issues, and this movie is definitely speaking to them, because Beau has some crazy serious mommy issues. And, like, it is one of these things where as you kind of go into these places, you can look at the movie in two ways, where it's kind of like an allegory for talking about this subject matter, or you can really just look at this as a straightforward, like, what we see is exactly what we get. Or you could look at this movie as, like, what we see is what we get, but it is interpreting and processing it through Beau's vision. And it's one of these things where you can look at this movie from different angles and different places, and what, Aster is getting into in those subjects, you can really go down some spots. And like I said, you can take this movie at face value, you can take it as an allegory, or you can take it as kind of a combo of both, where it's like, yeah, you are seeing a story, and what's happening is happening, but you're also kind of seeing the madness of this person as they're kind of spiraling out on this journey. And like when you get to the end, like that could be, one of these where it doesn't exactly necessarily happen how it happens in the movie, but is like the breaking point for that person. And I think all of that stuff is really interesting. And like I said, when it comes into the familial tragedy, the thing that Aster is the best at, that's where he takes his biggest swings. But that's the stretch of the movie that I was maybe engaging with the most, because it brings in the most horror elements. And I still can't believe what I saw. And even there, like, that can have direct translations. Like, you see something and it means exactly what it could be, or it could be what's going, like, this movie is wild, and I love Aster for that. And the thing that I love even more is that he convinced Joaquin Phoenix to do this movie, because Joaquin Phoenix is a freaking genius. I mean, give this dude an award. I said this in my short. Like, give him an award every time he steps out and does something, man. He is one of the most fascinating people to watch on screen, and the full commitment that he gives to a character, and just like his vision of the story that he then portrays is always fascinating. And giving a guy like that material like this in a world where he is afraid of everything. I mean, the opening 20 minutes when you're just in his apartment and he's trying to get to the airport, the mayhem and chaos and stuff that's going on around him, like, you literally are feeling everything that Beau is feeling, and that's because Phoenix is just pouring all of it in, and it's the right type of actor to take you through this type of crazy story, because I don't know if this would work with just anybody in the lead. I think there are lots of movies that are really good and they're enhanced by having really good actors, but if you replace them, you could still get to a close or similar place, maybe a little bit less, sometimes maybe a little bit better. But with this is a movie where I don't know if anybody but Joaquin Phoenix could have done this movie, and that's probably what Ari Aster should have been saying to him on the phone, right? It was like, why would I do this movie? Because you're the only person that could do this movie. And the warmth that Joaquin's able to bring to Beau it allows you to connect with him, where you're feeling what he's feeling and going through what he's going through, and you're constantly just rooting for him, because the life that he is living, whether it is reality or not to the rest of the world, is terrifying. And seeing him kind of overcome some of those fears or different things at different stretches in the movie, and how it just spirals out to the end. I mean, it's a tour de force of acting. And then you throw in a supporting cast around him that really brings it. You know what I mean? I mean, Patti LuPone. I was talking to my friend Hill, who's a huge theater nerd, and she was like, Patti LuPone don't do too much off of the theater stage. Like, you don't see her in front of cameras too often. And Ari Aster got Patti LuPone to come out for this movie. She plays Beau's mom, and like, this close to outdoing Joaquin. That's how unbelievable LuPone is in this, man. I mean, she just goes everywhere that Aster asks her to go, and what she gives makes this thing work. I mean, specifically the back third. Like, there is some crazy shit going on, and somehow LuPone is able to kind of ground that craziness in her performance, and you just get sucked into this mommy son dynamic and their relationship and the toxicity that's there and how that could play into things in Beau's life. And like I said, this movie is so layered, and you have actors that understand that and translate that in their performance, which I just always think is phenomenal. Then you have Amy Ryan and Nathan Lane, who play Roger and Grace. Mild spoiler, but like early on something happens to Joaquin, and he kind of gets taken in and taken care of. And Nathan Lane and Amy Ryan are the people who are taking care of them, and they have a daughter. I believe her name is Tony. I think that's who is in the movie, played by Kylie Rogers. And the dynamic between the three of them, in and of itself, could have been an Ari Aster family drama movie, man. There's some weird stuff going on there, which makes the interactions that they have with Beau even wilder. Lane and Ryan, I love both of their performances, and the things that are going on with Beau and the manipulations and how it's playing into Tony's story and their son, who had someone he was in the war with named Jeeves, who lives there, and he's mentally disturbed. So like, there's a lot going on in this house, and Lane, Ryan, Rogers, and Dennis Menachep, who plays Jeeves, all four of them bring really great stuff, but specifically Ryan and Lane. Like, I was just fascinated with the relationship between them and Beau. Like, it's some crazy stuff. And, I mean, no matter where you go, like, Parker Posey pops in here, and that's, like, someone for Beau who he had kind of, like, romantic feelings for as a kid, and we kind of run into her as an adult, and someone else who can play into the craziness and the madness and got what Aster was going for. And her performance, man, like, you're gonna sit there and you're gonna be like, damn, Parker Posey went like full commitment in a way like I didn't even know you could commit as hard as Parker Posey commits in this. And speaking of commitment, one of the other things that Aster talked about, you want to talk about how hard the acting is here across the board. They were doing shots, I think, on LuPone, and it's like a really tough scene for her in particular. And Joaquin just needs to be off screen, just giving her and he's going full performance to the point that he passes out. Like, that's the commitment, and that's why I think this movie works, because everybody that's here is fully committed to Ari Aster's vision and pulling off what he's giving. And it doesn't matter who else pops in here. Stephen McKinley Henderson, who plays the therapist, he's a face that the minute you see him, you're like, I love that guy. And like, he's got a fascinating through line in this movie. Richard Kind, who plays Dr. Cohen, who's kind of like Patti LuPone's like lawyer. Fantastic. I mean, the minute you hear Kind's voice, you're just like, oh, I hope we get to see him. And then we do. And how he plays in, again, to the insanity of this movie is perfect. And it doesn't matter who shows up here. I mean, you get a little bit of Bill Hader sprinkled in, this woman, Alicia Rosario, Catherine Berube. Like, they're just like these different people that pop in that just add a lot to what's going on. And it's like they all get it. And then there's James Kvetkovsky, who plays the youngest version of Beau, who's a little boy. And then there is the person that people thought was a CGI character, Armen Nahapetian, who plays the teenage Beau on the cruise ship. That's where we kind of learn a little bit about Parker Posey's character, Elaine Bray. And I tell you, the kid is really, really good. He's got some definite striking features. And I could sort of understand why, like, in the trailers, people thought that this person might not actually exist. But that being said, I really thought that he crushed as the teenage version of Beau. Like, I think he really understood what Joaquin was doing and translated that into a younger form that really worked into the storytelling that Aster's doing. And like I said, that's the thing that I love the most about this movie, is that it's the combination, right? It's like everybody that's here is coming to play. And I think that's something that Aster has through all three of his films so far, where it's like no matter how crazy he gets or how out there he is willing to go, he is able to bring in Oscar-winning talent. People like Florence Pugh, like Joaquin Phoenix, someone like Toni Collette. Like, you're able to bring in these huge named actors that have these massive careers and play ball in a realm that they're maybe not super, familiar or used to playing in, and everybody is willing to play ball, willing to go to the places. And this is a movie where I think if you don't fully commit, I don't think it can possibly work. And the reason that it works is the full commitment from everybody involved. So let's get the Sea Maniacs up. Like I said, this is a movie that is going to make you think. And it's because it's layered. Aster's script, I think, is really, really on point this time around. I think it's some of his sharpest writing. And the idea of taking, again, another story that has a family tragedy at the center, but rather than leaning into the horror, going into like this fantasy epic of a human who's afraid of everything to like unhealthy levels. It is just fascinating to watch what unfolds on screen. And then, Aster does like to go to places that no one else will go to. And when you get into the horror elements of it, while there's some of his biggest swings, I thought that they worked with what he was building. And I really do think it is the commitment of Joaquin Phoenix more than anyone else, but everybody that shows up here. Like, you're so fully committed to this vision that, specifically because Joaquin is your lead, the way that you're able to attach to him very early on in the movie, like, I think that's the make or break. If you're able to attach to Beau and be willing to go on that ride in the first act quickly, I think you're going to love this movie, especially if you let it sit with you and are willing to think about it, because this is definitely a movie that makes you think about lots of things, specifically mental health, mother-son, relationships, family dynamics. There's lots of things at play, and that's what makes this one work the most for me. And yeah, the performances are just unbelievable. And when it comes to what Aster is doing behind the camera, you don't. It's one of these things. Like, every movie, he has something where I'm like, damn, I've never seen that before. And this one feels the most traditional. But there's like 2 or 3 times where you get Aster moments behind the camera. And there's one shot in particular that's an above shot on a car. I'm pretty sure I have an idea conceptually how he pulled it off, but I was just sitting there. I was like, I don't like how, man. And the visual storytelling mixed with what's on paper and mixed with what you get performance-wise, specifically from Joaquin Phoenix and Patti LuPone. This one's just a huge slam dunk for me. I'm going 4 out of 5 Sea Maniacs. It doesn't always connect all the time, and the 3-hour runtime is a risky move. Like, that is a huge number for a movie like this. However, because you're able to attach to the movie, if you're able to, and you can go on this ride, because it's so engaging and constantly has you with it, it doesn't... The 3-hour runtime, I didn't think it hurt it, but it's a big swing, and I it's not perfect, but man, I appreciate what Aster does every time he does something. And I'm glad that the majority of what we've heard about people and their thoughts on this movie has been positive, because God, man, the last thing I would want to see is A24 suddenly be like, Ari, I don't know if you should do that. Until he goes completely off the rails, let this man go wherever he wants creatively, because what he is doing is, like I said, is top-tier stuff. I mean, you cannot deny the talent between Aster and Eggers and Peele, and these 3 guys, specifically in the horror realm. But they've all shown that they can play outside of it. They're special, man, and I dig. I'm here for, like I said, I think I tweeted this out. Or maybe to my buddy, I texted it. I was like, I will literally go on any crazy roller coaster ride that Aster wants to go on, because I dig his vision, man. And this is another one that really hit for me. I don't know if it's necessarily my favorite. I think that's still Midsommar, but this is right there with that for me. I really, really dug this one. The question is, what about you, man? There is so much in this movie, man. And this is some of the biggest swings that we've ever gotten from Aster, and some of the biggest swings that we've just gotten in movies, period, lately. So the question is, if you went and saw Beau Is Afraid, what was your initial thought? And then did you take the time to kind of sit with the movie for a little bit, and did it change at all? Did it enhance? Did it get worse? What was working and not working with you? What was fascinating from a story standpoint and the different things that Aster's working on? What was popping on the acting side? Were there things that you loved and things that you hated? Was it a mix? Or was this one that ultimately, maybe it wasn't perfect, but man, did it hit the mark on what you were hoping for with a movie like this? And if you haven't seen it, I appreciate you watching this trailer, or watching this review all the way to the end, because we talked a lot, but I would say go into this as blind as possible. I didn't watch any trailers. I had seen the poster. I had seen like a couple blurbs on it, and that was it. I was like, enough for me to be interested. I think going into this as blind as possible, I think can really enhance what you're getting, because it leaves you open. You don't have any preconceptions about it going in. Now you've listened to me talk for 20 minutes, so you might have preconceptions. But if you haven't seen the movie, is it on your list? Is Ari Aster someone that you're always down to watch? Do you feel like anytime Joaquin does anything, you got to check it out? Or were you not here for it? Anything you guys got, man, good, bad, indifferent on Beau Is Afraid, put it down below in the comments section. I look forward to talking to you down there. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new, you want to come hang out with the C-Man anytime we're talking movies, TV, trailer, reactions, you just want to show a little love and support to a guy who's always down for a crazy adventure on screen, well then, hey, come join C-Maniac Nation. Super easy. All you got to do, jump over there, hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell if you want those alerts. And until next time for the C-Man's Cinema Sit Down, I've been the C-Man. I'm signing off. Peace! Oh, you guys are still here. You snuck up on me. You must be looking for more of this guy. Well, I got 2 video options for you, man. Right up here and right over here. And if you want all those C-Man goodies, well, hey, come join the squad right on over there, and I'll catch you on the next one.